Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be making a little table for our dollhouse and get it all ready. You're going to hear noise in the background, and for some reason my video editor would not completely lower the volume so we could do a voiceover. So I'm just coating this with some Waverly antiquing wax, and I'm wiping it down right away because I don't want the wax to soak in too far. I want a lighter color on this table, and since it's bare wood, if I had left it, it would have been just crazy dark, and that's not what I wanted. So you'll see me putting it on and then wiping it off, and of course being bare wood also and the grains of the wood, the table is going to soak in more wax and spots, but I think that just gives it a little more of a realistic look. And I've sped the video up so you didn't have to watch me do the whole thing in real time. And I really enjoy the process of putting this on and then wiping it off, and eventually it's going to dry, and it's going to dry lighter than it looks right now, which is great because that's what I wanted. And I am going to stain the underside of the table also, just in case. In case you can see it, I don't think anyone will be able to once it's in, and it's going in the family room because that's just kind of where they do all their stuff. They play games, they watch movies, they do videos or video games, and they do crafting in there also. So it's just a space where everyone can be. So there's the table all done with the antiquing wax, and as you'll see later, it does lighten when it dries. And I will also be putting a coat of Mod Podge on, which I've done after the table was done. Now what I'm going to do to give this a little more of an authentic look, like they are working on this dollhouse to fix it up, is I just cut out some smaller print out of a piece of newspaper that I had, and I'm applying this to the tabletop with the wax, just because I might someday want to take all this off and use the table for something else or put something else on it. I think I said antiquing wax. Oh, where's my brain? Just some wax. It's the Limax wax. It's like your tacky wax, that kind of stuff, where you can just stick things down and then it can totally be cleaned off at a later date if you choose to repurpose whatever you're doing, or you decide you want something else to sit on the table. I was having trouble, the wax was sticking to the paper. And sticking to me at the same time. I tried not to get my fingers in the wax, but I did. Sorry about the quality of the voiceover. I am rushing because I'm running out of time before I have to go to work, and nothing was working right. This video editor didn't want to cut out the sound, which is odd because it usually does. However, it is prone to issues from time to time also. So that might be what's going on. And I'm just kind of putting the paper up there like they just laid it on the table, however, just to get it down so they could work on the dollhouse. The little girls are very excited. And I put the wax on the wrong side of the paper, which is fine because I'm also going to wax the dollhouse down to the paper, as you'll see. And I have a couple spots on the table where there is no paper, but the dollhouse is going to cover that. And then I did put there is a base that goes on the dollhouse, and it sticks out just a little bit to give a hint of a green lawn in front. So now I'm just positioning it kind of like I want it and shutting up the wax so I don't get any more all over me. And I hadn't put the green piece on at that time, so there it is. And I was going to slide it under the table, but I thought, no, the dollhouse would be attached to it, so I did go back and put it under the dollhouse. And I thought that would, look more authentic. Who's going to take the base off if they don't have to? Since this is just a remodel. So I somehow lost a little bit of the footage here. What I'm doing is I am painting the roof parts for the house. They're just going to be black. I'm using 60 grit sandpaper for the roof just so it would have some texture, and I don't believe you'll probably be able to see it here on the video, but up close you can see the little texture of the sandpaper. I just wanted to give it something so that it didn't just look like a painted piece of wood. So that'll be the part that goes on the front of the house, and I'm now going to be gluing that on. It's all dry and everything, so we're just going to glue it to the top of the house. And of course the glue bottle is clogged. I've had it standing up, I've had the cap on it, and it's still clogged up on me. But it was an easy fix. So I'm just applying glue to make sure I get the edges of the roof, and then I'll do the whole roof once I get those edges, because I want the sandpaper to stick down to the little house. I'm just applying it, and it wanted to curl up. I'm not sure what was that. With that, probably just putting the paint on and moistening it, but I wanted it to lay very, very flat on there. Like maybe they, just got that part of the roof redone. And so I'm just pushing it down and making sure everything is all lined up and even. And now I'm taking the part that's going to go across the back of the house and applying glue to that. And I'll be putting the sandpaper on that in just a minute. And again, I'm just pushing it down to make it lay nice and flat on the roof. Probably one of the hardest things I've done lately is cut out that little piece, because I had to leave the sides on it and then the tiny strip across the top, and I was so hoping that my wood did not break, and it didn't. Somehow it didn't. So that's how it's looking, and as soon as I make sure this is pushed down, I'm gonna try to put it on the back, try to hold it so you can see it. But I realized my fingers just got in the way, so, but yeah, it's like any dollhouse where the back is open and then you have that little piece that goes across the top. I think you can see it there. And this is just, I'm showing you the top floor, and I have the ceiling for the rooms underneath painted, and that'll just slide in there and be glued in. But it's not going to be glued in for what we're doing, because they're working on the rooms on the second floor. And then that little piece will go in, and there'll be another one, and those will divide up, and there'll be 3 little rooms up on top. So here I'm showing you they're in the process of, I'm trying to position it on that base, I've got to glue it back down. They're in the process of ripping up the old carpet in the bedroom, and then I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, and I'll just wait till I get it into the dollhouse, the farmhouse, because I'm not sure where I'm going to put everything, just kind of like when you're redoing a regular house and you have all these parts and pieces. And so, anyway, next week's video we'll be making all the tiny things, a little scraper for there, and some paint cans, paint brushes, whatever you can think of, some little paint rags. And yeah, that's what next week's video is going to be. We're going to start working on them and finish up this little project. There's a piece I've cut that I'm going to be using for the outside trim, and we'll be putting some of that on so it shows that they were in the process of that too. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for joining me. It is so good to be back with you guys. I'm so excited, and I'm excited to get this little project done. So please join me next week, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you again for joining me on this little adventure.